Hi, I'm David Maldo, your virtual presenter course instructor, and in this lesson we're going to learn how I do this name and title bar trick. You might hear some people refer to these as lower thirds because they're on the lower third of the screen. Now for this lesson, I'm assuming you've watched the previous lessons and you've been following along, so really you probably figured out how to do this yourself. There's more than one way to do it, but I'm going to share a few tips and techniques so that you'll get the best results. So let's continue where we left off in our OBS setup. Okay, here we are where we left off, and if you've been following along, you should have a collection of scenes, something like what I have here. Now we're going to have to remember back to what we learned on our lesson on transitions. We don't want our title bar to just pop in and out, like this. We want it to fade, like that. So you remember the way we did that. We created two identical scenes, with only one thing being different, and when we click on the scenes to transition between the scenes, we have our slow fade transition set up so it fades in and out. So, just like we made a copy of our main office scene, and called it Office No Logo, we're going to obviously have a scene called Office with Title Bar. But here's the thing, I'm assuming you've graduated the first 10 lessons, so we're going to do it the advanced way. It's going to be a little trickier, but it's going to give us a better result. The basic way is what we learned in the transitions lesson. The way we have this set up, we made a duplicate of our office scene, called it Office No Logo, and it has all of the same sources except for the logo. So what's wrong with that? Well, here's what's wrong with it. For it to work, everything has to be the same except for the logo. So let's say in our main scene I decide to change something. Let's say I realize, hey, I'm not really centered. I want to center myself. It's a good thing to do. So I'm going to unlock my main camera and move myself over a little. Great. So now what happens when I switch to the Office No Logo? Oh, that's not good. That's not a good effect. It's not just the logo popping in and out, I'm moving. That's not what we're going for. We definitely don't want that happening with our title bars. And I'm not going to say to you that you're not allowed to change your main scene. I want you changing your main scene all the time. Have fun with it. So we need a trick that allows us to change our main scene, my office scene, and still do the title bar thing. This is how we do it. Instead of right-clicking Office, as we did before to create a duplicate of it, we're going to create a totally new scene. And we're going to call that Office with name bar. I'm going to move that up. Now obviously we're not seeing anything because there's no sources in it. Now this is the magic part. The source that we're going to add is another scene. It's going to be the office scene. So these two scenes are now identical. If I move something in Office, let's go to Office, and if I now move the main camera over again, when I switch to Office with name bar, nothing moves. Whatever we do in one will reflect in the other. We're going to have a lot more fun with nested scenes. They can be very powerful. But let's get started with our name bar. So let's switch to Office with name bar. And obviously I need to add another source. Everything is a source. So I have a PNG image of a lower third bar. It's nothing fancy. I found it on the web. I Googled for royalty-free, free use title bar and this came up. You could probably find something better or whip something up in Photoshop yourself pretty easily. Okay, so let's lock this down and see how it's working. Switch between Office and Office with name bar. There we go, that's great. And just to test our functionality, if we move something in Office, let's move our logo this time. So I want to just put a little bit to the right. When we switch to Office with name bar, nothing strange happens. So what's missing here? Oh yeah, my name and title. Let's take care of that. Everything's a source, so let's click on our add a source and see what options we have. Oh, text. Thing we're missing is text, so let's add some text. I'm going to call this name. And I'm going to type in the text. And you can see, if you drag this bar up, there's a lot of options. You can choose your font, you could choose your styling, you can add an outline, you can pick colors, there's endless customizations. I'm just going to keep it simple with Arial White. So just like any other source, I can move it around, I can resize it. Let's see. Let's shrink it down so it looks like it's actually in the box. Okay, pretty good. So we have our name, same thing to add our title. We add a source, another text source, call this one title. And again, put in whatever text we want to put in. And again, resize it, just like any other source. We drag it around and resize as we learned in our previous lessons. Move it around to fit nicely in there. Okay. Obviously, I would spend a little more time tweaking it to make it perfect, but just to show you how it works, I think we're pretty much set. So let's see how we do. Go to Office, and Office with name bar. We're totally set. And we're free to make whatever changes we want in Office. We can put in a completely different background. This will always still work. Just switch to Office with name bar. The only thing that will change is the name bar will pop up. One final tip for using this in presentations. Now, up till now, when I wanted to switch a scene, I've been clicking on the name of the scene in the scenes dock below. That's how you switch between scenes. So I click on Office with name bar to bring it up, and I click on Office to make the name bar go away. When you're presenting, it's not a terrible thing, but when you look down to click and bring it up, and then look down to click to make it go away, it takes a little bit away from the effect. So here's how you do it a little bit smoother. Now, as long as you have a scene selected, instead of using your mouse, you can use your keyboard, the up and down arrows on your keyboard, to switch between scenes. So if you have your hands on the keys before you start, you don't have to look down. You can just switch, and it looks like magic. One last thing I recommend to take it to the very top level is to look directly at your camera while you're doing it. Usually when we're presenting, we kind of look down at our screens because we're looking at what we're presenting, we're looking at what we're sharing, we're looking at our materials. But if you could try to remember to look right at the camera and have your hands ready on the keyboard when you do this, it creates a really nice effect. You could just say, "Hi, my name's David Maldo and it's great to be here." So I hope you guys found this lesson helpful. This was definitely a little harder to follow, a little bit more advanced than the previous lessons, but if you can pull it off, it's a great effect. Thanks for watching.